That doesn't mean that I'm not out there drafting Sony Michel. In my last 2 drafts, I definitely stashed him on the bench because, as Johnny said, should anything happen, he could easily be the lead back, and in this offense could lead you home. Right here. You like that fresh fantasy football content, you like that daily grind that we're going to get on for you guys, and you want more of it, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel and giving this and other videos a like on your way in. That being said, welcome in Whisper Nation. My name is Big Travie. You can find me on Twitter at Big Travie TFW. I'm joined by Johnny Game Time Hicks, who you can find on Twitter at Johnny_Game Time. Johnny, is the impact of this Sony Michel trade on the Rams backfield? So quickly, your initial reaction to this trade, and then I'll get into some of the stuff I started to dig up with this question.
My initial reaction to the trade was I still believe that Henderson was going to have the lead dog running back in this, the 1A, and I was pretty confident that he was going to be the projected starter. But after that, and seeing other things that are coming out, Travis, I'm starting to feel like this is definitely a running backfield that you're going to want to try and target at least a piece just to take that gamble, because now Henderson's value is so late, going much later than it was before. And I do think that Sony becomes an interesting dart throw because of the fact we've heard that he could potentially be the starter there. We do know he's productive when he does play. So I am excited to dive into this question with you a little bit further.
Yeah, so I would agree that was kind of my initial reaction too. And then we got to talking on Monday, and I think that's really why I put this question in the show, because on our mock draft Monday, it was this question of like Sony versus Henderson. And I actually think the answer is yes, like draft both of them, because in my opinion, we just look at all the things that are possible for this offense. Let's look at the opportunity with the offense itself first. Johnny, Rams ranked top 10 in rushing attempts in three of their past 4 seasons. They've also been top 7 in rushing DVOA in 3 of the past 4 seasons. We also look at the Rams offensive line last year, and it became a top 3 unit again. And we saw Akers really, produce down the stretch. So let's profile the 2 backs we're talking about here, because what fails to get mentioned a lot is the fact that Malcolm Brown is now gone, and he's even gone from the Dolphins. He retired, but he's actually gone out of this offense, which it was a 3-headed committee at some times last year. Henderson, though, if we just look at Darrell Henderson, he had an 83 pass blocking grade last year. Jeez. From PFF. Last week, and last year, Darrell Henderson was the 3rd best running back in pass blocking grade per Pro Football Focus. 3rd best of all running backs. I think that's a remarkable grade to have as Darrell Henderson, because that's going to keep him on the field as their starter, in my opinion. His receiving grade was 67.9. So not a guy we know for receiving, but a guy that scored within the top 50 at the position in that grade. After averaging 21 catches per season at Memphis, Henderson caught 16 balls in 11 games that he started last year. That's a little, and I mean started as was on the field for a lot of snaps, a little over 1 per game. So nothing to write home about with the receiving, but I do believe the pass blocking gives him a little bit of an edge over Sony Michel. Henderson's college tape showed his ability to catch, though, and make plays in the passing game. And I remember when the Rams took him in 2019, they were jacked about his upside in that aspect of his game, even saying some light Kamara types or comps to him during that time. We look at Cam Akers missed or was limited in 4 of his first 8 games. During those games, and with Malcolm Brown still on the field, we saw Henderson average 17.5 touches, over 80 all-purpose yards, 4.6 yards per carry. He scored 3 times, but the big one was that he averages 12 PPR points in weeks 3 through 7. He was also better at converting at the goal line than Cam Akers was last year. And so you like that as well as an ability to score a touchdown. If we look at Sony Michel, obviously the sample size has not been great given his injury history. Last year, his pass blocking grade in limited action was 73.2. His receiving grade better than that of Darrell Henderson with 82.6, but still not used a lot. After averaging 16 catches per season at Georgia, in his 28 games in the NFL, Sony Michel has just 26 receptions total. So it's not like he is out there in a huge sample size tearing it up. And finally, I just want to talk about what McVay has said, regarding Henderson after this trade. So this is a quote, and I know Coach Speak can get out there, but I tend to believe this one. Darrell is still going to have a really big role, Sean McVay said. Doesn't really change the outlook for him, and then we'll see how quickly we can get Sony up to speed. And I think this is relatively true because they did use Malcolm Brown as a third piece, as a complementary piece. And I do think they would use somebody like Sony Michel as a complementary piece for Darrell Henderson. Now, don't get me wrong. I think you should invest in Sony Michel because should anything happen to Henderson, who hasn't been very healthy in his own right, Sony Michel would step into a very large role, and, vice versa. Should anything happen to Sony, I think, Henderson's upside's even more. But both are being priced very well, Johnny, for an offense that we've seen produce huge numbers at the running back position.
The thing that I like about Sony is, sure, that New England didn't use him as a pass catcher, which was a little bit weird because he was so good at it in college. So I do expect, Sean McVay to use him much more in that role as he goes there. It did make sense to me when, like heading back to like my first reaction, that he was going to take that Malcolm Brown role for them. But it is, once again, with Shefty coming out and saying that he could potentially be the lead running back there, and we know how much Matthew Stafford likes to check down. He's always done that to running backs. And then you also look at the fact that, Sean McVay seems to, when he doesn't like a player, he tends to find reasons why he shouldn't play him. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't 100% like Henderson, but if you look at his track record, right, he's kind of proven that he hasn't really loved what he's seen from Henderson by drafting Akers and bringing in some other guys to take his role. So there is a lot of cause for concern for me for Henderson. I think he could start the season off, fairly hot. And then, as Sony picks up more and more of the playbook, I could see Sony end up, that's so weird to say. And I don't like saying that, saying Sony is potentially going to come in and take this over, and then you could ride him to the playoffs maybe. But it's a sticky situation now for sure.
I actually think that it's not as sticky. I'm just going to stand firm in this. I do believe that it was a depth piece that they picked up Sony Michel. You look at Mr. Miyagi saying he looked great in preseason, but the Rams got him super cheap. Yep, was a super cheap deal. Didn't have to send a lot over to get him. Doesn't make me think that they're bringing him in to be the starter. I think they still believe in Henderson, and they want him to be the lead back, and they're going to use Sony Michel in the complementary role. That doesn't mean that I'm not out there drafting Sony Michel. In my last 2 drafts, I definitely stashed him on the bench because, as Johnny said, should anything happen, he could easily be the lead back, and in this offense could lead you home.
Right here.
Oh, you watched the whole video? That's impressive. But if you want to learn how to dominate your draft or win your league, why don't you head on over to thefantasywhispers.com and grab your draft kit today? Or you could click the link in the description below. And if you're still not sold, check out one of these videos.